श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते ताप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्री गुरुदीनतारणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरं। हरि ओम तत्सत्। All right, so we were discussing about the Dwarka pastimes, Dwarka Leela of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as you know, we are covering the verse Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yoveti Tatvata Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Neti Mameti. So Arjuna. So we have covered the Janma part, we have done the Karma part in Vrindavan, and now we are doing the Karma we did in Mathura and now in Dwarka. So in Dwarka, we reached to the point where Lord Shri Krishna rescued 1,600 queens and ended up marrying them on their request. So now how and what all he does in the Dwarka Leela, that is what we are going to do. So it so happened that one day Shri Krishna was with Rukmini Devi, and Rukmini Devi was engaged in serving the Lord. Rukmini Devi was very calm and composed by nature. Nothing would agitate or irritate her very easily. But Krishna wanted to invoke that anger in her because he had never seen her dissatisfied with anything. So he just wanted to see that irritation on her face. So for that, he started saying things which were not very much appreciated by her. He started saying things like, you are the queen and I am a cow. You're the princess and I'm the cowherd boy. Don't you think you made a wrong choice by marrying me? And she was like dumbstruck. She could not understand why the Lord was saying all this. He ended up saying things like, you made a mistake, you still have a chance. Why don't you find the right match and marry that person? And when Krishna saw, actually Lord Krishna had seen Satyabhama's reaction when Narad Muni actually got that Parijata flower for Rukmini Devi. Queen Satyabhama wanted not only the flower, but the whole tree for herself. And that's how she ended up going with the Lord, which we discussed in the last class. So that kind of reaction, that something like that, the Lord was expecting from Rukmini Devi. But Rukmini Devi being very content, she never ever gave that kind of reaction to the Lord. So to test her, he started teasing her like that. And Rukmini Devi, being very grave by nature, she took all this very seriously and she actually fainted. She was actually stunned in this extreme fear, pain, and sadness. Then Krishna lifted her and consoled her. But why did he do so? So Shukdev Goswami remarks that it had so happened that Krishna almost passed all his time with Rukmini Devi, and that somewhere deep down in her heart, she was a little proud to be so fortunate that Krishna never ever left her even for a moment. So this pride, Lord Krishna is the Paramatma sitting in all our hearts, and that pride which was present in Rukmini Devi very unknowingly. She was also not aware, but Lord knew it. And she, being such a wonderful devotee of the Lord doesn't like any of his devotees to be proud. So he wanted to smash that pride. So here also, that's what he did. That is why he said such hard things to Rukmini Devi. And Rukmini Devi could not actually handle it and she fainted. But when the Lord brought her back to consciousness, she could understand that it was because of her proud position. It was because of her pride, because of her position, that Krishna could not be separated from her at any moment. That is what she used to think. But when the Lord told her that you still have time, you can find the right match for you. You are a princess. I am just a cowherd boy. I don't even know if I'm a Kshatriya or a Vaishya. So you can correct your mistake now. Hearing all these such harsh words, that is what Rukmini Devi realized, that no matter what her position is in life of Sri Krishna, but if Krishna so desires, he can easily separate himself from her. So that was a lesson that we learned from this pastime, that pride is not a thing that exists in the service of the Lord. If we are proud about any of our activities, then Lord Krishna doesn't accept our services. We need to be in the humble position. We are the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Okay. Then comes the Banasur Vad. Who was Banasur? Banasur was actually a devotee of Lord Shiva, and his daughter actually kidnapped the grandson of Krishna, whose name was Anirudh. So, the 4 months of Chaturmas, for those 4 months of the rainy season passed, but Anirudh never returned to his home. And when Lord found out, so the entire Yadu dynasty now prepared to attack the city of Shonitapur. Shonitapur was basically the city where Banasur used to reside, and surrounded with all soldiers and elephants and horses and chariots. They were all ready to attack Shonitapur. Now Banasur, when he heard this, he got really angry, and he immediately ordered his soldiers, who were of equal caliber, to go and face the army of the Lord. Now Lord Shiva was the worshipable Lord of Banasur, and he was very merciful on Banasur. So he decided that he also wanted to fight for Banasur. So, and who did he fight with? Directly with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. So, Balram actually was the commander-in-chief of Lord Krishna's army, and he fought Balram fought the commander-in-chief of Banasur's army by the name of Kumband. And then Samba, who was the son of Krishna, he fought Banasur's son. And Banasur himself ended up fighting with Satyaki, who was the commander-in-chief of Yadu dynasty. Now Lord Shiva, he released his weapons against Lord Krishna, and obviously with no difficulty the Lord counteracted all those weapons. So when Lord Shiva, say, he released the weapon of devastating fire, Krishna counteracted with the torrents of rain. And when Lord Shiva released his Pashupatastra, then Lord Krishna counteracted with Narayanastra. Lord Shiva, he got very, obviously he could not stand in front of Lord Krishna for a long time. So he got tired fighting with the Lord, and taking this as an opportunity, the Lord released the weapon called the yawning weapon. That means when he released that weapon, everybody around there wanted to sleep. They all started yawning. They got so tired. So Lord Shiva also got very tired and he said, no, I cannot fight anymore. I don't want to fight anymore. He just refused to fight and he began yawning. Now, Lord had the chance to focus on the efforts of Banasur and he began to kill his personal soldiers with swords and clubs, and all the others also defeated the soldiers of Banasur. Now, when Banasur saw all this, he thought that it was wise to stop fighting with Satyaki and face the Lord directly. So, Banasur had 1,000 arms. So, with those 1,000 arms, he shot 500, with the help of 500 bows, he shot 2,000 arrows. That means with every bow and arrow. So you need 2 hands to hold the bow. Okay. Each bow, because he has 1,000 arms, so there were 500 bows. But each bow was carrying how many arrows? 4. So there were 2,000 arrows. And Krishna, he cut each of Banasur's bows into pieces and then he blew his Panchajanya conch shell. Banasur, he escaped this attack of Krishna. He left the battlefield. He basically took a break and he returned to his city. Now, in the meanwhile, so Lord Shiva was actually, if you remember, he had started yawning and he decided that he didn't want to fight. Now, Lord Shiva, he came back when Banasur left, and this time he used his last weapon, which was Shiva Jwar. Shiva Jwar. Jwar means fever. Okay. Now this Shiva Jwar, what did it do? It released excessive heat. So it is said that at the end of the creation, the sun becomes 12 times more scorching than usual, and this 12 times hotter temperature of the sun at the end of the creation is called the Shiva Jwar. Okay. So now this Shiva Jwar, in those times, everything had a personification. So this Shiva Jwar also had a personification which had 3 legs and 3 heads. Now he came towards Krishna and was burning everything to ashes. So now how did Lord Krishna counter attack this one weapon? By releasing his Narayan Jwar. So for Pashupatapstar, he released the Narayanastra, and for Shiva Jwar, he released the Narayan Jwar. So Shiva Jwar was releasing excessive heat and Narayan Jwar was releasing excessive cold, because only then can you counter attack, right? Now, excessive heat can somehow be tolerated, but when it is excessive cold, everything collapses. So then so these 2 Jwaras, they fought, and Shiva Jwara's temperature diminished because Narayan Jwar was releasing excessive heat. Now, this Shiva Jwara personified began to cry for help. And Lord Shiva understood that this time he could not help his own weapon. So he surrendered. Shiva Jwar finally surrendered unto the Lord. And he offered wonderful prayers to please the Lord so that the Lord will give him protection. So as we know, Rakhe Krishna mare Krishna rakhe ke. If Krishna wants to protect you, nobody can kill you. And if Krishna wants to kill you, nobody can protect you. So Krishna basically was pleased by the prayers of Shiva Jwar, and then he gave him the protection. Now, in the meantime, Banasur, he regained his strength, he rejuvenated his energy, and he came back to fight again. Okay. Now, Banasur, he released his weapons towards Krishna, and Lord, immediately on seeing this, he took out his Sudarshan Chakra. That began to cut off the 1,000 arms of the demon. Now, this demon had taken shelter of who? Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva went up to Krishna and he understood that if Krishna wants, there's no way he can protect Banasur. So he went and he requested the Lord that I have promised protection to Banasur. So please spare him. He offered his prayers at the lotus feet of the Lord. So Lord became happy and he assured of the safety of Banasur, because Lord said that who actually was Banasur? Banasur was actually grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. That means he was son of Bali Maharaj. And who was Prahlad Maharaj? Prahlad Maharaj was a devotee of the Lord. And Bali Maharaj, Lord we know, is the gatekeeper of Bali Maharaj in his abode in the lower planets. So he had promised Prahlad Maharaj, who the Lord had promised Prahlad Maharaj that he will not kill any of his descendants. So this Banasur, being the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, the son of Bali Maharaj, he said to Lord Shiva that I cannot kill him anyhow. That is why to deprive him of his false prestige, I have cut off his 1,000 arms. So all now he has, and obviously that he had destroyed all his soldiers. So he said now he has only 4 arms remaining. And he will remain immortal and unaffected by material pains and pleasures. So now this is how Banasur was blessed by the Lord, and then he came and he bowed down. He paid his obeisances to the Lord, and then he brought his daughter and Usha and the grandson of the Lord Anirudh on a nice chariot and presented them before to the Lord. And then Lord took them back with him, entered Dwarka, and there he got both Usha and Anirudh, he got them married. And during this ceremony itself, Lord Balram ended up killing Rukmi. Okay. Now, the third pastime was of King Nriga. Who is King Nriga? Now, it so happened one time, all the members of the Yadu family, like Sambha, Pradyumna, Bhanu, Gada, and all these princes of the Yadu dynasty, they went for a picnic in a forest near Dwarka. Okay, there they suddenly felt very thirsty. So they went looking out in search of water. So they reached a well. Now, who was in the well? There was no water in the well, but there was a huge lizard kind of an animal that was trapped in the well. They tried to help him out. They tried to take that lizard out because it was a very unusual, this big lizard they had never seen. So they tried to help the lizard out, but it was too big. They just couldn't. So they came back and they narrated the entire episode to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna, being a very compassionate, obviously, soul, he's the super soul, he's the most compassionate being. So he wanted to help the lizard out from the well. And so, along with his sons and grandsons, he went to the same place to see what exactly was going on in the well. Now, when he reached the well, he touched his hand. So the lizard was long, very long, right? So the lizard could not be taken out, but the lizard, when Krishna tried to take the lizard out, the lizard was touched by the hand of the Lord. Just by that touch of the Lord, the lizard gave up its body and appeared as a beautiful demigod. So the Lord, being the super soul, he knew everything, but for people like us, he asked this question, and to him that, who are you and how did you take the form of a giant lizard? So this demigod was actually King Nriga by the name Nriga. Okay, he was a king by the name of Nriga, and he came in the body of a lizard. When he was asked by the Lord that how did he get into this condition, he paid obeisances to the Lord, and he told the Lord that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You know everything. But because you are asking me, I shall narrate the incident to you. He said that I am the son of Ikshvaku, King Nriga, and he was of a very charitable disposition. That means he used to give charity following the rules and regulations. It so happened one time, he used to give thousands of cows in charity, and not just cows, those cows who were very well decorated, and they would give lot of milk, and they had only one cow. Okay, so pretty healthy, nourishing, healthy cows giving nourishing milk and well taken care of. So it so happened that one time he gave cows in charity to a Brahmana, and one of those cows, without his knowledge, came back and mingled in the set of other cows. And the king ended up giving this set of cows to another Brahmana. Now, the Brahmana who got the first set of cows figured out that there was this one cow missing. And he went and he told King Nriga that the cows that you gave in charity now to this Brahmana has my cow in it. So there was a confusion. So King Nriga became very sad. He said, oh, this is my fault. How is it that it so happened? I really don't know, but can we please work this thing out? Because both these Brahmanas were upset. He wanted his cow, and the other one was saying, no, this is now my cow. So this was all Krishna's arrangement, right? Now, basically, he asked the Brahmanas that if you please kindly forgive my mistake, it was done unknowingly, and if you so agree, instead of this one cow, I am ready to give you 1,000 more cows to each of you. But please do not curse me, or please do not get angry. These Brahmanas, they were very upset, and they did not agree to this offer that they would get 1,000 cows instead of this one cow. So they told the king that, actually they didn't say anything to the king, and both in a very bad mood just left. Now, in due course of time, this king left his body. Now, when he left body, he went to the Yamalok. There, he was asked that, do you want to live the pious credits of your karma, or you want to first live the reactions of your impious karma? So this, and though the Yamraj told him that his pious karma credit, when he's going to enjoy the life, is going to be very long. But he, being a man of right disposition, he said, no, I think I want to live my impious karma first. So Yamraj said, okay, so be it. So for his impious activities, he became a lizard. And what was that impious activity? That he actually, by mistake, had given a cow in charity to 2 Brahmanas at the same time. Okay. So then he became a lizard. He fell in the well. He stayed there for a very long time. but his memory was not vanquished. So he could think of Krishna even in that condition. And he said that I'm amazed to see you face to face. He was talking to Krishna, right? And he said, even though the yogis cannot see you within, and he glorified the Lord in various ways. And then before entering the heavenly planets, he paid obeisances to the Lord, because now that he became a demigod, he was to live the karma of his pious credit, and he entered the heavenly planets. And before that, he got the audience of the Lord and he paid obeisances to him. Then he expressed his appreciation for the king's devotion to Brahmana, and the Lord expressed his appreciation to the king's devotion to the Brahmanas and his charitable disposition. So it's basically to teach a very valuable lesson to his family. The Lord said, if someone basically touches a Brahmana's property, his family is ruined for 3 generations. And if the Brahmana's property is forcibly taken away, the taker's family is ruined for 10 generations before and 10 generations after they're subjected to ruination. And on the other hand, if someone becomes a Vaishnava or a devotee of the Lord, 10 generation before and 10 generation after are liberated. So these instructions were for his family, but basically for the human beings in general. So the lesson that we learn from this is, it is not important to become a Brahmana, but what is important is to become a Vaishnava. If you're a Brahmana by birth, basically, that's what he's talking about, that if you're born in a Brahmana family, that doesn't make you a Brahmana. You should become a Vaishnava. That is more important. Who is Vaishnava? The one who worships Vishnu, one who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many Brahmanas in today's time who are born in Brahmanical families but do not worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They just have the status. For them, Brahmana, being born in a Brahmana family is just a status symbol. So they misuse their birthright. That is not what a Brahmana means. Then, now, during this time, and when the Lord was in Dwarka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was in Dwarka, and Lord Balram, he desired to visit Vrindavan, because he was feeling a lot of separation from his mother and father back in Vrindavan and his cowherd friends and gopis. So when he decided to go to Vrindavan, and when he actually reached Vrindavan, he was greeted with lot of love and affection and warmth, and he also reciprocated accordingly. And just to satisfy their mood of separation, he chose to stay there for 2 months. Okay. And in that period, it so happened that once when he was enjoying the rasa with his gopis. So remember, Lord Balram had a separate set of gopis who were his gopis, and Krishna had a separate set of gopis. So when Lord Krishna was enjoying with his gopi friends, Varuna Dev, one day it so happened that Varuna Dev sent his daughter Varuni in the form of liquid that was oozing from the hollows of the tree. Now, because this honey, because of this honey like drink, the whole forest became very aromatic, and Balramji was captivated by that aroma, and they started drinking, and that made him intoxicated. Yeah, in a happy mood, not in a bad way, but in a happy mood. And then so then the Lord Balram developed a desire to enjoy with the gopis in the waters of Yamuna. But Yamuna Devi, so he called for Yamuna Devi to come nearby. But Yamuna Devi, seeing the intoxicated state of Balramji, misunderstood him and was very fearful of that condition, intoxicated condition of Balramji, and refused to come. So when she refused to come, that really angered Balramji, and he was so upset with Yamuna Devi that he decided to scratch the land nearby Yamuna, and he thought that because of her disobeying his order, he is going to basically cut her into half. She got really, really scared, and she saw his power, and immediately she came in person and fell at his lotus feet and sought his forgiveness. That calmed him down, and he forgave her, and then he enjoyed in her waters along with his friends. During this time, what happened? Killing of Devivira demon took place. Now, Devivira was a gorilla, an ape demon. Okay, he was from the time of Lord Ram. So he actually, in Treta Yuga, he was the minister of Sugri, the Vanar king. Okay, but this demon, after the pastime of Lord Ram and all his Vanar friends left for their abode, he stayed back. He chose to be friends with Banasur, Narkasur actually. And Narkasur was a demon. So that basically contaminated him. That spoiled him. Now imagine coming from Lord Ram's time, which means that he was a very pious soul at that time. But what association can do to you? This is what is being explained here. That association plays a major role. If you remember, we discussed the pastime of Narad Muni visiting Vishnu about the past importance of association. So once when Narad Muni visited Lord Vishnu, and he asked Lord Vishnu that what exactly does association do? And then Lord pinpointed a place on the earth and asked him to go and ask the worm present there as to what can association do. When Narad Muni went and he asked the worm turned around and died. He became very sad. He came to Lord Vishnu and he asked Lord Vishnu that what did you do? The worm died and you didn't even answer my questions. Lord Vishnu said, how about you go and you ask But the Lord said, if you need your answer, you got to do this. So he went there and he asked the calf that, what does the association do? And the calf looked at Narad Muni, turned around, fell, and the calf also died. Now Narad Muni was very, very disturbed. He went to Lord Vishnu and he said, what did you make me do? Now I am going to be punished for Gohatya. So the Lord said, well, we'll deal with that later. Why don't you go and ask this human child that is just born now about the importance of association? And Narad Muni was thinking, I've already incurred the sin of killing a worm and then a cow and now a human child. But obviously he could not say no to the Lord. So he went and he asked that human child, what does the association do? And lo behold, this little child started speaking. So the little child said, I am the result of association. So Narad Muni asked him, how? What do you mean? So he said, you remember that little worm? That was me. And because you came and gave me the association, I got the next birth, higher birth of a cow. And in the cow form, when you came and you gave me your association, I got a human birth. And now in this human birth, you have blessed me with your mercy again. And I am sure after I leave this body, I'll make it back to Godhead, because this is what association does. As we know, Mahaprabhu said, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Kahe, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. So just by a moment's association can transform a person's life completely. So we understand this is what happened to Narkasur. He had the association of Sugriv, but and Sugriv was a devotee of the Lord Ram, but when his associates left, he fell in the wrong association of Narkasur, who was actually a demon, and that is what basically polluted him. And now this Divivira demon, when he found out that his friend Narkasur had been killed by the Lord, he got really angry. He wanted to avenge his death. So what he did was he started creating a lot of disturbance in a place called Kathavar. Kathavar was the place in Dwarka where actually Sri Krishna was living. And when he figured it out that Lord Krishna actually killed Narkasur, he wanted to create a lot of disturbance there. That's exactly what he did. He would just uproot the trees. He would create so much of, in the sea. He was huge. He was really huge. So wherever he would go, the earth would shake and he would just destroy things. He would capture men and women and captivate them in caves. He was totally devastating at that time. Situation that he was creating was really devastating, and he was destroying everything. So one time it so happened that he went to Raivata mountain. Why? Because there he could hear some very melodious songs being sung. So when he reached there, he saw that, what did he see? He saw Balram and his gopi friends were enjoying in those mountains, in that serene atmosphere. And he himself got captivated by the beauty of Lord Balram. Lord Balram is none other than the first expansion of Sri Krishna. He's the most beautiful. He was so pretty. This demon got captivated by the beauty of Lord Balram and his friends. So he started, making very unpleasant gestures towards the gopis, and that really, really agitated Lord Balram. And then he started, he warned Devivira, and Devivira, in fact, uprooted a tree to attack Lord Balram, and he tried to hit it on the head of Lord Balram, but Lord Balram, he managed, obviously he's the Lord, so he managed to keep the tree away from him. So this Devivara actually had the strength of 10,000 elephants. So we can understand how powerful he was. So he was creating all this confusion there. And then finally, the Lord took his club and he started fighting with him. But that also did not stop Devivara. Finally, the Lord got so agitated that he said, forget about any weapons. I am going to deal with him with my fist. Lord Balram, the word Bal itself means that he had a lot of strength, both physical and spiritual. So and it didn't matter if Devivara had the strength of 10,000 elephants, because Lord Balram any day was much stronger. And so Lord Balram used his fists and he struck him, and in one blow itself, the demon fell dead on the ground. And then Lord returned to his capital city, Dwarka. Now in Dwarka, what was happening was that Pondrak and the king of Kashi, the Kashi Raj, they both were now to be delivered. How? So this story of Pandrak is actually very, very interesting because it proves that there always have been people, men and rascals and fools who have considered themselves to be God. So even in the presence of Sri Krishna, there was such a foolish person by the name of Pandrak. Pandrak, he wanted to declare himself God, and in absence of Lord Balram, that is when Lord Balram was in Vrindavan, at that time he sent out a messenger to Sri Krishna saying that he was actual Vasudev and Sri Krishna was basically the fake Krishna, imagine, and that nobody can compete him. So then he asked Krishna to give up his symbols and surrender unto him. And if he cannot surrender unto Pandrak, then he needs to accept the challenge of fighting with Pandrak. When this message was read in the Sabha of Ugrasen Maharaj, everyone had a hearty laugh. They all started laughing. And then Krishna sent this messenger back with a message saying that, tell Pandrak that I will not give up these symbols of Vasudev, especially the disc. In fact, I am going to use the same disc to kill you and your followers. And thus they got ready, to start a fight. There came Krishna. To face him came Pandrak with 2 Akshanis of Sena, and the Kashi Raj, who was a friend of Pandrak, he came with 3 Akshanis of Sena. Now, first time it so happened that Lord was seeing Pandrak face to face. And imagine, he had these yellow garments, he had the flag on his chariot with the mark of Garuda Dev, he was wearing a very valuable helmet, he had these earrings, everything copy of Krishna. He had imitated himself just as the Supreme Personality of Godhead used to dress himself. And when Lord saw that, he started laughing. I mean, imagine how would you feel when you see somebody who's dressed exactly like you and is imitating you, not only imitating you, but claiming to be you. So it was such a funny sight for the Supreme Lord. He started laughing, and then they started fighting. Then the war actually broke, and finally the Lord, he cut off his head with his disc. And the Lord also killed the Kashi Raj, the king of Kashi. And then he returned to Dwarka. Now, this Pandrak, see the mercy of the Lord here. This Pandrak, since he was meditating on the Vishnu form of the Lord with 4 arms all the time, on his leaving or passing away or being killed by the Lord, what form did he get? He got the form of Vishnu because he got the Sarupya Mukti. This is the mercy of the Lord. Now, on the other hand, what was happening? So this was with Pandrak. Now, Kashi Raj also died. So when the news reached Kashi, the son of Kashi Raj, who by the name of Sudakshina, he was very angry. What was he angry about? He was angry about the death of his father. And he vowed to kill Krishna. So for that, he performed a lot of austerities so that he could please who? Lord Shiva, because he knew that Lord Shiva would give him some benedictions. So when Lord Shiva became pleased with Sudakshina, Lord Shiva advised him to hold a sacrifice of the tantras, the black magic and mantras, and from that fire sacrifice would come a demon, and that demon would help him. Now imagine, because this rule of black magic, tantra or mantra sacrifices, that it is aimed to kill a person, and if the mantra or the tantra fails to kill the person, it kills the person who created that mantra. Okay. So this Sudakshana, by the mercy of Lord Shiva, was able to create a demon by these black magic mantras and tantra sacrifice. And this demon obviously went to Dwaraka and started creating a havoc in the life of the people. The people were very fearful. They went up to Lord Krishna seeking his help, and Lord said, "Don't worry, I'm going to protect you." And he sent who? His Sudarshan Chakra. Now, this Sudarshan Chakra went and basically defeated the demon. This demon, because it was a fiery demon, it was very, 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 very hot. So what did Sudarshan disc do? The Sudarshan disc started cooling it down to the extent that it lost its battle with Sudarshan Chakra and went back to Varanasi. Now here, because as I told you, the rule is that if you're not able to kill the person you aim for, the person who creates the demon is to die. So all the priests who took part in this sacrifice, so they were also destroyed, and so was Sudakshana. So following this fiery demon, Sudarshan Chakra also entered the Varanasi city, and this Varanasi city was actually very opulent, but with this Vishnu Chakra, everything was burned to ashes. And then the Sudarshan Chakra came back to Dwarka. So we'll end here and we will resume these pastimes in the next class. Okay? Anybody has any questions or any comments? Anybody has to say anything? No? Okay. So I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Okay.